Hello friends, in MSc SEM 3 Physics, the unit 1 is about the scattering theory. First of all, we will try to understand what is scattering. Scattering means it is the deflection of something. Here, suppose one particle is there, and when it moves in a particular direction, when it comes to the target, so when incident particle interact with the target, in that case it may move. Now here it is not about a single particle, but suppose there is a collection of particles, more than one particles. In that case, depending upon the direction, it will deflect. Here, let us say this particle moves in this direction, suppose. When it comes closer to target, its direction changes. This particle that comes closer to this target, so in that case it deflects more. In some cases, suppose it comes in this direction, then it may move backward direction. So depending upon distance, it may deflect. So in short, scattering means when some particles, incident particles, moves toward the target, and so this incident particle mutual interaction will be there, and because of that it may deflect in any direction. Okay, let us say, just for example, so this target is suppose helium 2 plus. It has a positive charge. It is nothing but nucleus of helium atom, and when suppose positive proton is moving closer to this target, this is positive charge distribution. This is also proton has positive charge. So it may deflect like this. So these are the example of scattering. So in a way, if you want, you can define like this. Scattering is defined as deviation of a particles or beam of particles from its original direction. Original direction of motion. Caused by its interaction with the target, or sometimes it is called the scatterer. Which scatters the incident particle. So sometimes it is called the scatterer. Okay, so this is the definition, broader definition. The scattering is defined as the deviation Deviation means deflection of a particles or incident particles from its original direction. Original direction is this, caused by its interaction with the target. So because of the interaction of incident particle with target, its original direction changes and it is called the scattering. And here this is just for example. So scattering you can understand in two ways, in classical terms. And here you consider two particles, one is mass m1, another is mass m2, and you can consider or understand this scattering. So you can understand in classical terms, and second is a quantum terms. Quantum terms. Okay. So this is just the classical idea that this is how the incident particle scattered from its original direction, and that is called the scattering. And I think you have heard the name of Rutherford. Rutherford scattering, very famous particle. Rutherford scattering of alpha particles. Here, instead of single target, suppose there is a gold foil. In case of Rutherford, gold foil, thin foil, very thin foil, gold foil. And when alpha particle bombarded on that thin gold foil, and he got some scattering in particular direction. Okay, and in some case alpha particle move backward scattering you can say. So from this experiment we get some information, and as you know that structure of atom, earlier it was not known that what is inside the atom, but from the famous scattering of alpha particle, and after studying the scattering, when he found that some of the alpha particle even deflect back, from that we could understand that at the atom, at the center there is a nucleus, heavy nucleus. So from Rutherford scattering of alpha particle, we could get the idea of the atom or structure of the atom. Structure of atom. Okay. So just try to understand first that what is meaning of scattering. This is how I have explained that this is the meaning of the scattering. So simple word, scattering is a process in which the incident particle interact with the target and it gets scattered or deflect in a different direction depending upon the properties of the target as well as the property of the incident particle. Okay, so that is the meaning of the scattering theory. And from the, I just remind you that famous Rutherford scattering of alpha particle, we could get the idea of the structure of atom. Now you may ask that is there any type of scattering? Yes, there are two types of scattering. You can say it is a types of scattering. That is a elastic scattering. and second is inelastic scattering. Okay, there are two types. This is also known to you. Now, mostly in our case, we consider here the elastic scattering. Elastic scattering means what? Let us say the incident particle is moving in this direction with the propagation constant, propagation vector k0, and when after the deflection, the now propagation constant changes to k. So before scattering and after scattering, the direction of propagation vector changes, but its magnitude remains same. So in case of elastic scattering, you can say that k0 is equal to k. Okay. So what is elastic scattering? Elastic scattering, in elastic scattering, the propagation vector that is constant is k0 in case of incident particle and k for the scattered particle. But here magnitude, direction changes, but magnitude wise it remains same. So in that case you can also say that h cross k0 is equal to h cross k is same. What is h cross? That is p0 is equal to p. It means in one line, if you want to say that here momentum is conserved before scattering and after scattering, the momentum is conserved. So in one word you can say the elastic scattering in which the energy and momentum is conserved. Okay. Whereas in case of elastic scattering, in elastic scattering, what happens? The kinetic energy is not conserved in that case. Okay, momentum is also not conserved. But in our case, our scattering theory, we will consider only the elastic scattering. Case of elastic scattering, where kinetic energy and momentum is conserved. In a way, you can write this or like this. So this is one condition. If this is the case, then we can say it is a elastic scattering. Second thing also you can say that in case of scattering, the frequency of incident particle, suppose let us say instead of this particle, suppose you talk in terms of quantum terms, and in quantum mechanics particles are represented by the waves, and if there is a waves, then in that case you can say that if the frequency of waves remains same, then it is also the elastic scattering. So in quantum terms, quantum mechanical terms, you can say that there is a change in phase of the wave, but no change in frequency. Okay, so this way also you can understand that in case of elastic scattering, if there is a incident waves, because in quantum mechanics we represent the particle as a waves, and when it interact with the target, its phase change only, no frequency change. It is also called the elastic scattering. So these different ways you can define the elastic scattering. So in elastic scattering, the propagation constant remains same. Elastic scattering, the frequency of incident waves remains same, only there is a change in phase. Okay. Now here in our scattering theory, we will consider that our scattering is elastic, and in that case there is a just change in propagation constant k0 in the direction only, magnitude wise it is same. Okay, so our scattering is elastic, that you have to remember it. Now why should we study the scattering theory? What is the importance of this scattering theory? What information you can get from this scattering theory? That we will understand that what is the advantage? What type of information we get from the scattering theory? So broadly it provides information about first thing, strength and range of nuclear forces. What it means? That suppose the incident particles moves toward the target and it's scattering. So depending upon the scattering, depending on the amount of scattering, you can get the strength and range of forces. What type of forces are there? So let us say, I just told you that in case of, suppose there is a helium 2 plus, it has positive charge, and proton is incident on this. So what is the range of this potential? Because when this is the collection of charges, you can say there is a range of potential. It has some potential. So what is the range of that potential? Suppose this is the A. Up to this range, it has some potential. After that, the potential suppose decreases. So what is the range of potential that you can get from the study of scattering? So study of scattering provides us the information about the strength and range of the nuclear forces. That is one thing. So that's why whenever you want to study in nuclear physics, and if you want to know what is the amount atoms and what is the inside the atoms, what type of force and what is the range of that forces, then you have to study the scattering theory. So scattering theory provides us the strength of force as well as the range of force. That is one information you can get. Second thing is that you want to, it will give the idea of the structure of atom. Structure of atom or nucleus. Structure of atom or nucleus. Just I told you that Rutherford scattering of alpha particle, you can get the idea of what is the structure. And now we know that in case of atom, there is a neutrons and proton at the nucleus and electron is surrounding that. So that type of structure we get the idea from the scattering of alpha particle in case of Rutherford famous experiment. So structure of atom or nucleus we can get from the scattering theory. In the same way, if you want to know what is the charge distribution, we can get the idea of the charge distribution within the target particle. Okay, because if you don't know, if you have no idea of a target, what is inside the target, in that case you bombard some particles and you can get the idea of the charge distribution of the target particle. In the same way, you can get the magnetic properties also. Magnetic properties of nucleus. If it has any magnetic properties by the experiment of neutron scattering. Neutrons scattering. When you bombard a neutron particle on some nucleus, and from the deflection of that neutron particles, you can get the magnetic properties as well. Okay, so these are the just information that you get from the scattering theory. So there is no other way to know about this strength and range and structure and this thing. You cannot know if you do not study the scattering theory. So to know about all these things, you have to go or some experiment based on scattering theory, and from that you can get the such information. So you have to just understand that scattering theory is important thing. And particularly in study of elementary particles or nuclear study, you have to perform this scattering experiment, and that is the only way. Now let us try to understand first topic of your unit, and that is the kinematics. Kinematics of the scattering process. Scattering process. Kinematics of the scattering process. And here we will also learn about the differential cross section. As well as the total cross section. Now, first of all, you just let us draw the schematic diagram of scattering effect. Let us say you have one incident particle, there is incident particles over here, and it's moving, and you can say that this is the incident particles. Okay, now there is a target. This is the just schematic diagram. Okay, now this is the cone, and this is the cone of scattering at angle theta. Okay, so here let us say this is our scattered particle. Let us say this is the scattered particle. Okay, so this is the scattered particle, and this center. Okay, this angle is theta. So now incident particles scattered by angle theta, then this will become your this is your plane of scattering, or you can say scattering plane. Okay, scattering plane. Okay, it is a scattering plane. Now, just to try to understand why I have drawn this cone, let us say, just try to understand. The particle is moving this direction. Okay, straight. That is a target. So because in presence of target, some incident particle move in this direction, suppose. It makes angle theta. But that particle also, it can move in this direction also. Okay, so here, this is the angle of incidence. It can scatter in any direction. But we are interested in this incident particle scattered at some angle theta. So with this line, if particle is scattered in this direction, so that is your theta. But if the particle moves from this to this direction with the same angle theta, so I have drawn one cone, you can say cone with the angle theta. Okay, so here you have to understand the figure in 3 dimensions, that whenever there is an incident particle, and suppose this is the incident direction, and suppose the particle is scattered at a particular direction, so this is your theta. Okay, but with this I am considering the scattering in theta direction only. So this can be theta, this can be theta. So here you can draw some cone like surface, and in that cone, for all these particles, scattering particle comes at this cone, will have scattering angle theta only. So for this particular particle or waves, scattering is theta. So when this incident particles scattered by angle theta, so this angle and incident angle, it makes one plane, and that plane is called the scattering plane. So here the incident particle is coming in this direction, it scattered in this direction. So this will be your plane. Okay. Now I want to represent that plane by some angle. So what I will choose? I will select this reference plane. This reference plane. This reference plane. Okay. And okay. So this scattered plane, this plane makes angle phi with this is reference plane. Reference plane. You can say it is a plane. Reference plane. So what I am saying, just try to understand. Let us say this is my incident direction. Okay. Just try to understand. Now this is my reference plane. I am considering this plane. Okay, parallel to the surface. This is my reference plane. Okay. Now incident particle when moves in this direction. So now this is my scattering plane. This is my scattering plane. This is my reference plane. And angle between these two, that is my phi. Okay. So when I am considering that incident particles, suppose instead of moving in this direction, suppose it moves in this direction. It means angle theta. So now this is my scattering plane. Now you have to, what is the angle with the reference plane? So that is your phi. So this is how you have to understand, and this is nothing but schematic diagram of scattering event. Okay, this is a schematic diagram. રેખાચિત્ર આપણે કહીએ ને એવું એમ કે બરાબર છે. So here incident particles when it's scattered by some angle theta. So this cone represent the particle which scattered at angle theta. So here in this case, if the particle is scattered in this direction, it means for this particle the scattering plane is this. Okay, let us say it's scattered in this direction, so this is my scattering plane. But I want to give some angle to this scattering plane by with reference to reference plane. This is my reference plane. So whatever scattering plane, there is angle with some reference plane, and that is the angle phi. Okay. I think you might have understood this. So this is theta and this is phi. So this figure just shows that the particle scattered at angle theta surrounding this z direction. So this is my z direction. You can say it is a polar axis, you can say. Polar axis. So in this, you can say that this is my theta, but here also theta. So I have prepared one cone which makes theta angle with the axis, and this is my scattering. So for this scattered particle, this is my scattering plane, but this scattering plane which makes angle some phi. So now whenever I want to represent the direction of scattered particle, I require two things. Angle theta, what is the angle of theta, and what is the angle phi. So to represent the direction of scattered particle, now I require theta as well as the phi. Okay. So this is about the static diagram. Here, to make the thing simple, we choose the coordinate system. In such a way that its origin will choose our coordinate system. In this case, if the particle is scattered in all directions, whenever incident particles hit the target or interact with the target, it scatters in all possible directions. When it deflects in all directions, so that thing you can represent with the spherical coordinate r theta phi. So in case of our coordinate system, that is suppose spherical one, in that case this target represent the origin of the coordinate system. So this is now my origin system. Okay. So just you have to remember that my coordinate system may be spherical one. We use the suppose spherical coordinate system, and its origin is at the target, isn't it? Okay. So it makes very simple. What is the distance between these two? That is equal to radius r, theta phi, theta, angle phi, everything is known to you. So now origin of the r theta phi is at the center, and the direction of, I am not writing everything, but here the direction of scattering particle is indicated by polar angle theta phi. Okay, direction of scattering particle direction of scattering particle. So if the particle is moving in this direction, you find the theta and then you find this angle phi. So if you know the theta and phi, then you can get the idea of the direction of the scattering particle. So direction of scattering particle is indicated by the polar angle theta phi, and this is our z direction, that is called the polar axis. Okay. Now I assume that here whatever the incident particle is there, the beam of particle is steady. Beam of particle, it is beam of particles is steady. Steady means, since suppose 1 second, suppose 10 particles are 100 particles are coming, so every 1 second 100 particles are coming. There is no change in input flux. So input flux is constant. Okay. So what I am saying, that in case of this beam of particles, flow of incident particle is steady. Almost same number of particles are coming, no change. With the time, number of the particle coming as an incident waves or particles is same. So here we assume that a beam of particles, flow of beam of particle is steady, or you can say the incident flux, input flux, incident flux is a constant or independent of time. Now if the flow is constant, some constant input particles are coming for a long time, steadily. Then if I find what is the scattering particle, number of the scattering particle in this direction, suppose I want to know, then this scattering particle along some direction theta phi, it will remain same also. Understand? So what I am saying, so if the flow of particle is constant with time, okay, same number of particles are coming continuously toward the target. At the target it is scattered, and when it is scattered in particular direction, the scattered particle arrives is also same. Just try to understand that in case of this target, and suppose the particle is scattered here, okay, so here my detectors is there. Detectors, I am detecting the scattering particle. So here the particle detected at this point about the angle theta phi is also same, because flow is same, target is same, so deflection will be same. So at particular angle theta phi, the scattered particle which arrives in this area is also same. And let us say I assume that suppose delta n number of particles scattered about the angle theta phi, delta n. But the scattered particle which arrives at nearby angle theta phi, that is, it depends on what? Number of scattering particles arrive at this angle theta phi depends on the input flux. So I can say I represent it the flux as F. When I say that flux means number of particles per unit area per unit time. Okay. Number of the scattered particle at the angle, some angular angle theta phi, depends on the proportional to flux. When I say that flux is what? Steady. It means number of the particle per unit area per unit time is my incident flux. Okay, so if the flux is more, scattering particle delta n will be more. If the input flux less, the scattered particle delta n at the angle is also reduced. So number of the scattered particle at the angle theta phi, it depends on the how much flow is coming. Flow is more, this will be more. Flow is less, this is less. So it is proportional to R. It also proportional to, you see, this is my area. I have considered this area. Now if I say that what is the number of particles arrive in this area, suppose. So if I choose the more area, so more particle will arrive in this area. So it depends on this area. But this area I represent by the solid angle. So I can say that this area makes some angle, and that is solid angle. Solid angle. You must have idea of the solid angle. Solid angle means you just try to understand the cone, ice cream cone you can say. And in ice cream cone structure is known to you. Suppose this is my cone. Okay, there is some ice cream inside. Now here, this is my area, this is my area, and if this distance is suppose r, then this area divided by r square will give me the angle, solid angle, this angle. You can say three-dimensional angle. So this is the definition of the solid angle. So whatever surface is there, it produces the solid angle here at the origin, and that solid angle is equal to this area divided by distance square, a by r square. So that is my solid angle. So here also, if I consider this area or even larger one, my solid angle will change. So if this area is larger and larger, my number of scattering particle in the area will be more. So number of the scattered particle, it also depend upon this area, but this area makes some angle at the origin, and that angle is suppose. So what I am saying, number of the scattered particle depends on this flux, input flux, it depends on this solid angle. This is your solid angle, you should remember. And it also depends on time. If you try to get this number of scattered particle more longer time, so your scattered particle will be more. So number of the scattered particle at this point will depend on the input flow or input flux of the particle, as well as it depends on the area. And area makes some angle, solid angle. So you can say it represented, the area is represented by the solid angle d omega, and it also depends on delta t. So your formula will be like this: delta n is equal to f d omega delta t. Here also you can write dn, proportionality constant, I represent by d sigma d omega theta phi, because this is the particle collected at the angle theta phi. So depends on theta phi. This is my proportionality constant. Just in usually case we can say proportionality constant is equal to k something, but in our case it is d sigma by d omega dθ by dt, and it is f d delta t. So now this is my proportionality constant, and this constant is known as d sigma by d omega theta phi. It is called the differential cross section. Differential cross section. Okay. You may surprise why it is called the differential cross section. Because whenever there is in biology we say the cross section means it is the area. So here why it is called the cross section? This constant is called the cross section. Why it is cross section? Because this constant which we know as a differential cross section has a dimension of area. Its dimension is area. That's why we call it as a differential cross section. How it is area? In one step you can say that d sigma by d omega, that is equal to delta n divided by this means f delta t d omega, like this. Okay, what is delta n? Number of those particles scattered at the angle theta phi. Number of particles means it has no unit, so it has no unit. Okay, what is this? That is solid angle. Its unit is steradian, but it has no dimension. So this is also dimensionless. Now here it is 1 by, what is f? F is incident flux. Incident flux means number of the particles arrived per unit area per unit time. Number of particles per unit area. Number of particles per unit area and number of per unit time t. But delta n has no unit number of particles. Area means it is a L square, and t time is t. This is the dimension of this. F is equal to 1 by L square t, because F is nothing but number of the particle per unit area per unit time. So per unit area means L square, time is t into delta t means it has dimension t. So t cancel out. So 1 upon L square. So it is L square, it means it is an area. Just to understand it, that d sigma by d omega, that is it has dimension of area, and that's why it is called the differential cross section. So here you can say from this formula that this bracket is d sigma by d omega, and that is the differential scattering cross section, because its dimension is of area, and that's why we call it as a differential cross section. Okay, so tomorrow we will discuss from here that differential cross section, and we will try to understand what is the total cross section. Okay, but here you can understand that in case of scattering theory, differential cross section is very important. If you know the differential cross section for different particles, and you can get some information about this interaction of the nuclear particles. So this is important, and we will start from this formula onward. This formula, and we will say that how we will derive what is the total cross section. Okay, that we will do in the next lecture. Okay, Thank you.